How much was your Botox, if I can ask?
Oh my God.
I don't
Each
know
time, probably...
Olga, better known as the Natural Face Bible on Instagram,
has been revolutionizing the natural skincare world for years.
I know that Botox can kind of disrupt that flow. And I do look back on when I was heavily Botoxed and I'm like, I was a little puffy. Like it looked like things were stagnant in the face. Weekly, I get a number of DMs from people who are going through the same or a similar thing. Then I see all of these videos about like muscle atrophy and disrupted lymph flow and like the other side of it that we don't hear about.
You do something, whether it's Botox, fillers, any bunch of other treatments, creates inflammation. If it creates the lymph stagnation, all of those are actually hallmarks of skin aging. Every 6 months or whatever, some new machine pops up. Give it at least few years, what it is. If everything seems to be working well, maybe you can try it for yourself.
So wait a few years before injecting salmon sperm into my face, you're saying?
Absolutely.
I see all over Instagram and TikTok these crazy before and afters where, it literally looks like somebody got brow lift, facelift, ponytail lift. We're not naming any names. Can you really rearrange the tissue, the bone structure, everything of your face with facial massage?
It's like few aspects to this.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Really looking forward to having you on. This is your first ever podcast.
That is very true.
So very honored.
And I'm very honored to be doing it specifically with you.
Thank you. I went down a rabbit hole with your content after I went through what we're now calling Botox Gate, the Botox incident last year. My approach to beauty had always just been skincare, injectables. That was it. And admittedly, Botox was doing a lot of heavy lifting for my face. Things were tight, things were taut, things were smooth because I was doing Botox for 10 years. When that was not an option for me anymore, I was like, I got to figure out something else to do. And that's how I discovered your page. And you have so much amazing information, videos for skincare, for gua sha, for face taping. And I feel like face taping now, I don't know if it's only because I've been sharing about it a little bit, and so it's coming up on my algorithm a lot, but it seems like it's really having a moment. Like it is the thing of the moment. Have you noticed that?
It's very true. Partially, of course, thanks to you.
Oh.
Because I feel like it's, the one thing when it's just like the people are doing it and then you see it here and there. And then it's completely different thing when it's somebody with like like an authority in a way, coming from a big influencer like you, a young, beautiful, successful lady, has her podcast and all of it. And of course, people are like looking at it slightly in a different way. They're like, wait a second, maybe all the things that I was seeing about the face taping and thinking like, oh, what nonsense is this? Maybe it's a real deal. So, and I'm actually very thankful because I think a lot of the things, just like anything that we have to do with our skin, with the self-care, with the health, when it's coming from like a heavy lifters, from the authority, the doctors, that like really people really look into it differently versus when it's like like a regular blogger, influencer, even like an esthetician, whoever is talking about it. So, and I'm hoping, actually really hoping that more and more people will be discovering about these natural modalities that are actually available out there, And I'm really sorry to hear about your journey with the Botox. Unfortunately, it's something I'm personally not very surprised. I've been hearing so many stories. I've witnessed so many stories myself. So, really sorry again that you had to go through this. But on the other hand, maybe made you stronger, wiser, I don't know. And along the way, it's helping other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've shared about this before. I feel like when it was happening last fall, I didn't know if I was ever going to feel better again. It was very scary. But I also had the attitude of, why is this happening to me? Like, why is this happening to me? And then after I resisted it so much, I was like, I need to change my mindset and I have to get into a place of acceptance. Doesn't mean that I like it. And it doesn't mean that I couldn't try to find solutions to heal and figure out what was happening. But I had to start with acceptance. And I reframed it to like, why is this happening to me? What can I learn from this? What can this do for me that, to your point, can maybe help other people? And I was actually just talking about this last night to somebody, and I said, like, it was laying the foundation, everything that happened last fall between that, and then I was going through a divorce at the same time. So hard at the time, but it was laying the foundation, laying the bricks for getting me to where I am now in my life, which is like the best place I've ever been. So it's proof that we never really know how whatever is happening to us or for us, like how that's redirecting us in our lives. And I'm curious, how did you arrive at face taping and these natural modalities? Were you ever doing Botox? Did something happen to you? Or did you see something where you were like, I don't want to go down that road and I'm going to explore this instead?
So when I was turning about 40, this is the time, and I'm like almost 49 now. So this was like 8-9 years ago. And at the time, Botox was already definitely very, very popular. Majority of my friends, because they were my age, of course, jumped into the, injections path. And I was like, wait a second, I'm not really up for it. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know a lot of the details of how negatively it can impact, health, skin, this aging, all of it. So, but I just kind of like, I guess intuitively, there was something telling me like, wait a second, like, I'm not like seeing myself doing something like this. And, but at the same time, I was getting older. I was already seeing some changes, some shifts happening. And as many women, we kind of definitely gravitate towards something like, how do we prevent it? How do we, not even just prevent it, how do we at least slow it down or like help ourselves? So that's when I started just looking at the options. I was like, there has to be something out there. There has to be something out there. And I landed on the facial massages, facial techniques, and all of that. And very new to it, I didn't know what it was. But at the same time, it really took my interest. And I'm a very skeptical person. I'm always like questioning everything so gazillions of times. I'm like doing the research first, this and that. So I was like, wait a second, I need to understand, what are these facial massages? What do they do? Why am I supposed to be doing them? How am I supposed to be doing them? So I actually went on the training just for myself. So I've done a whole bunch of first online. It's a lot of anatomy courses, this and that. Then I flew to Europe, to Russia, to literally study hands-on at the variety, like a few different schools of the professional facial massages. And that was back like 8 years ago. And like I'm still continuing my education in the different modalities and the aspects and the techniques. So, but back then I landed in, at those professional facial massage schools, and we would be trained in anything from like the myofascial techniques, the buccal techniques, the inside mouth massages that was very like, I don't think it was available back then here in the United States. I don't know why, even though in Russia and Eastern Europe, it was so popular. The training included some of the, the face taping, all of that. So that's how I started. I was literally looking for the ways and the options for myself first and foremost. And that's how I landed on the facial techniques and the face taping, all of that. And since that, this has been just my journey. I've never even tried Botox or any other injections or any treatments for that matter. So just always been towards the more of a natural approach. And I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, and you look amazing. Everybody can go look on YouTube if you're not watching this on YouTube. I mean, your skin is incredible.
Thank
I
you.
have noticed that since I stopped doing Botox, my skin has gotten so much better. So maybe we can talk about why that is. And I had like good skin before, but in the last year, it's been 12 or 14 months now. It's gotten better and better, the quality of the skin. Does that have to do with the lymph flow? I know that Botox can kind of disrupt that flow. And I do look back on when I was heavily Botoxed and I'm like, I was a little puffy. Like it looked like things were stagnant in the face.
This is the very interesting point that you're bringing up, because what I'm hearing from the industry, from the beauty industry professionals, right? It's the preventative. The Botox is preventative and you have to start early. And like if you don't, you're like doomed or whatever. That's basically the sort of a message that many people are hearing. And in reality, from the natural perspective, the scientists, a lot of people are already coming forward and saying that that's not exactly the case. Unfortunately, yes, if you do something, whether it's Botox, fillers, a bunch of other treatments, it creates inflammation. If it creates the lymph stagnation, all of those are actually hallmarks of skin aging. So how can you say that this is something preventative when what you're really preventing is proper blood flow, proper oxygenation, proper lymph drainage, right? You're creating inflammation that now your tissues have to be dealing with that, instead of, going forward, right? Instead of regenerating and thriving and blossoming, now they have to be dealing with inflammation or impaired blood flow or impaired, lymph flow, all of that. So of course, in the long run, that would cause the premature aging to skin. The muscles are not operating how they should be. There's the fascia impaired. Like all of the functions, the vital functions within our skin are not thriving. They're compromised. And now your skin, again, is stuck in this rabbit hole, like dealing with that. And that's what I also hear many times, that after Botox or after fillers, it's just like there's like changes in the skin, like it's faster aging or this or that. Well, yes, I mean, it's kind of, catching up to what it's been dealing for all the time when when those foreign substances were inside the tissues.
I've heard there's some muscle atrophy, right? So
that could be too.
I know in myself, I was doing masseter Botox. I do clench and grind a little bit at night. And I had a little bit more of like a square jaw. So I did it for all of those reasons. And I actually really liked it. I mean, it helped a lot with the clenching. And I liked how it kind of like slimmed that masseter area of my jaw. However, I've noticed since that has grown back that I have more structure to my lower face and it actually looks tighter. And I know that that's something that can happen, especially with like Botox in the lower face, is that things can kind of like fall a little bit. And I would imagine that would happen all over the face. I know that there's a little bit of controversy online over whether that's true or not. And of course, like the people who do Botox, who administer Botox are like, no, that doesn't happen. No, this is fine. And then the people maybe more on like the scientific side of it are like, no, actually this can happen. And I always say, like, I'm not anti-Botox. Anybody listening can do whatever. And if this had not happened to me, like I probably would still be doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It just, I didn't know until I had to find a different way, which is why I'm like exploring these modalities. But I have noticed that since I have been on the other side of it, like I also hear so many stories from from listeners, from followers. Weekly, I get a number of DMs from people who are going through the same or a similar thing. And then I see all of these videos about like muscle atrophy and disrupted lymph flow and like the other side of it that we don't hear about. And I don't think that practitioners who provide Botox are doing this in any nefarious way, but they make it seem like a perfect modality. And it's like, nothing is
I
perfect.
think they
Everything has
believe that.
downsides.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they just believe that. That's another side of the story. I've heard that some, plastic surgeons or dermatologists, whatever, doctors, they were confused themselves, I'm assuming. They were sold a certain product and they were told by whatever it is, the manufacturers, the industry, whatever it is, oh, this is what it is, this is what the fillers are going to be gone within 3 months or this or that. And they really, to the point, it's maybe not their fault, completely, because they were sold something, they were taught this at the seminars. You give this to your patients or the clients, and if they don't like the filler or whatever, it's going to be gone in a few months. And then, of course, everything, like, this is what I always say, all the trends that just come, right? You have to give it at least a few years to see where it's going to take us, because it's a little bit of a jet lag, right? From the time we land on some trend, and by the time there's like some evidence or research comes along or something like this. So whatever it is. And that's one of the things what I actually try to stick to more of the, I want to say, like a traditional, old ways, whether it's the skincare or self-care, that have passed the test of time. It's just been years and years of evidence that this is how it works. And, even if there may be some negatives, but it's like a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage. And and then when it comes to any of the beauty treatments, right, we see like every 6 months or whatever, some new machine pops up, or this laser, that laser, this or that. Like, give it at least few years, let the doctors, first of all, figure out what it is, and then let the patients see, like, based on the evidence, on the experience, what it is. And then maybe, if everything seems to be working well within the next few years, maybe you can try it for yourself.
So wait a few years before injecting salmon sperm into my face, you're saying?
Absolutely. That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
I was talking to a nurse practitioner yesterday, and she said, well, actually, it's been around in Korea for 10 years, and it's categorized as a medicinal or medical. I can't remember how it's categorized. Mm-hmm. And she's like, it's actually very safe. But they're working on getting that.
Let's check it out in maybe a couple more years as well.
Yeah.
Also, Asian skin, like people in Korea, they're very different. It's I can't imagine comparing. You're like a beautiful blonde with the fair skin. Girl, you can't compare yourself, or I cannot compare myself to the Asian ladies, right? The Japanese, or they have a completely different skin texture, tone, everything.
That's a really good point. And I think people don't think about that. They don't take it into consideration.
Yes, absolutely.
What are the limitations, if there are any, let's start with facial massage, because I see all over Instagram and TikTok these crazy before and afters where, it literally looks like somebody got brow lift, face lift, ponytail lift. And
I know what you mean.
We're not naming any names, but it's a little bit hard to believe, I think, for the consumer. So I'm curious, can you really rearrange the tissue, the bone structure, everything of your face with facial massage? So it's few aspects to this. If you notice, all of or majority of this very drastic before and after images that we see, they are on very young people. It's 20s, maybe early 30s, typically, 20s, maybe early 30s. And that has to do with the number of things. Actually, just the other day, 2 days ago, I was at the facial acupuncturist. That's what, I have
it's like the first time actually I've done it in like 2 years, where I was just like, okay, let me go. And she was like, oh yes, it's, I just had a girl who was like 24, 26, whatever. And after the session of just one facial acupuncture, like her face just like in front of my eyes, it just transformed. Versus like, a person who comes in who is like 60, you will not see the results. You might barely see something. The reason for that is when we're so young, right, in our 20s, everything is so vital. We are still blossoming into how we actually gonna look. We're still blossoming into that like swan, if you want to say. And everything we do, our tissues respond so much better, so quick. Like you can do the tiny little thing and you will literally get great results. Versus the person who is, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, that would take a lot longer. And even if it's longer, you will not see those drastic results, unfortunately. Another thing is that when you're so young, right? And I can also say for myself, for my daughters, for a whole bunch of other people that I watched grow up. When I was in my 20s, or my daughters when they were in the 20s, and so many people, we still have that baby fat, that beautiful baby fat on our face that eventually, even if you don't do anything, even if you don't do any of the techniques, that baby fat will eventually melt off by itself. If you add more of the facial techniques, right, you will just speed up that process. And you will literally, like, you see some, like, you can even see by some of the Hollywood actresses, even like back on the days before we had the surgeries, right? They would have like this plump, rounded faces with like maybe like some hooded eyes or whatever the term is right now, and not as snatched of the jawline. That's, I guess, what the term is. And then like a few years later, you literally see them blossoming into these sculpted faces. That's because all of the baby fat is just gone by itself, and that's the process. So like I said, again, the majority of those drastic before and after photos, they come from a very young people in their 20s, maybe early 30s. This is the time when their facial structures are still changing by themselves. On top of that, they do add the facial techniques, which absolutely work. There's no doubt about it. They speed up that process. And, you can get some of those drastic changes. Mm-hmm. Having said that, you will not see it in somebody who's a 40 or 50 or 60. So,
or 39.
Damn. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So that's one of the things. And of course, those are catchy, and that's great. I think it's like, it's if you still have to have realistic expectations. So those before and after drastic images are there to capture your attention, maybe start you on a journey discovering, wait a second, what are these facial massages? What are these natural techniques? Well, let me try, maybe let me go and educate myself a little bit about this, but definitely not to be expecting that this will happen to you. And again, it also depends on your ethnicity, your facial structures. All of that would play a role as well.
If you go into it with no expectations, then it becomes a better experience because it's a very self-soothing, self-care kind of thing. And you can only be helping the tissues, even if you're not seeing your brows lift and your hooded eyes disappear and your jaw gets snatched or whatever. Or if you're not seeing those overnight results, it's still, I know for me, I don't even really know what I'm doing. I just follow some videos that I see online, but it's like a nice time where like, I'm not on my phone. I'm not like distracted, and I'm just there and I'm doing something and it feels good. And it's like taking care of myself.
Absolutely.
So I think that's like the expectation going into it. And then like, if you start seeing results, then that's the cherry on top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the cherry on top. Yes. Mm-hmm. And also, this is exactly the very, very valid point that you bring. This is the time for yourself, right? This is the time to relax, to come down from our hectic life and pay attention to your tissues, right? Even like a slight touch to your tissues, whatever it is on your face or anywhere on your body, when you're touching it, right? This is bringing all the attention. This is our mind and everything, the nervous system is concentrating on that area and giving that area extra benefit, extra love, extra attention. And it's very important. That's one of the things that also how the face taping, in one of the ways how it works too, right? So let's say if you hit your arm, right? And you start rubbing it immediately and the pain kind of goes away. So when you place the tape, it's something on that area of the skin that's altering the pain receptors, and it's already intercepting differently with your brain, and the pain subsides. That's one of the ways how the taping would work. And that's why I have so many people who have TMJ issues. And I have this incredible application for the jaw area, and people are like, "Oh my God, this, like, I tried a whole bunch of different things, but this is just helping me." And that's one of the things that the tape was developed by a Japanese American doctor who was trying to find the ways to help his clients to recover, to help recover the tissues, to improve the lymphatic drainage, to, deal with the pain, not medically that, we would get something orally taking. That's also not great for our health overall, but something of more of a natural method. And when we apply the tape, it can improve the lymphatic drainage. And if we have the fluid buildup, let's say the lymph buildup, especially in this area, on the jaw area, that's like a very sensitive, very compromised area that gets a lot of the fluid buildup for many people. It's just that fluid buildup can put extra pressure on the pain receptors, and you get the pain from the TMJ or just the overall jaw tension. Applying the tape would, for many, many cases, help that.
I need to do that next, and I've seen your videos on that, but I've only so far done like the vanity ones.
That's great. Yeah, but you started within the right path. You started with the easier ones, like the forehead area, the frown lines, and then you can, like, once you kind of got used to a little bit handling the tape, because that can take a little bit of a second for some people, then you can definitely progress into more of the advanced applications, like on the jaw area, which really is incredible. I hope you try.
Yeah, let's talk about the forehead first. So tell everybody how and why it works. You did just say a little bit about the lymphatic and bringing more circulation to the tissue, right? But like face taping 101, what do people need to know?
So basically, this is like, it has to be the correct tape, right? So the kinesio, this is when the Japanese American doctor developed the tape. It's called the kinesio tape. And when the tape is applied, it was obviously used for the body, and he developed it to be used for the body. So the original tape, the kinesio tape that you see all over everywhere, all over the internet, all over the stores, that is the tape, the original tape that's designed to be used on our body. And we'll talk about that later, because that's kind of a little bit different from what the face tape. And so when it's applied, whether it's on your forehead or the arm or the leg, whatever it is, it mimics our skin, and it acts like a magnet, if you want to say. So it kind of like lifts a little bit of the skin. It basically creates more of the interstitial space. This is the space where we have all of our receptors, where we have our blood vessels, our lymph vessels, and all of that. And everything is like, for majority of us, everything is very tight and compressed. That's when we have the issues, and the blood circulation is not as great, the lymph drainage is not as great, and everything else. So by creating the lift in between the tissues, right, we decompress all of those receptors. And that's what the tape is allowing. It's kind of like a magnet, pulls a little bit of the skin up, creating a little bit of extra space in between the layers, decompressing the pain receptors. And that would be another point why you would feel less of the pain if the tape is applied into the area that requires that assistance. It would decompress the lymph vessels, so the lymph flow would be going in more swiftly. With that, it's going to cleanse inflammation. If there is an inflammation there, it would boost the blood flow. Again, our muscles, this is one of the most important things, right? The fresh boost of blood, of the fresh oxygen and all of the nutrients that would help relax the too compressed of the muscles and fascia and help regenerate tissues and skin cells a lot faster, because at the end of the day, our skin, what does it need? It needs the fresh oxygen, fresh blood, all of the nutrients, every goodness, all of the goodness that you ate for breakfast. Let's say you ate the best organic eggs and, this and that, the most amazing food. But if your blood vessels are compressed, if the blood flow is compromised, your skin will have a hard time getting all of those amazing nutrients to the surface of your skin and to help the skin regenerate faster, slow down aging, glow, and all of that. So that's how the tape would help. So it's not necessarily that it just like you put something on the skin and it just like magically erases or reduces your wrinkles. It's really just improving the basic functions within our tissues that in return will help beautify the surface, which is the skin, smooth out the wrinkles because the muscles are not going to be that inflamed and tensed up.
I do notice I get such an immediate result on my forehead, though. I think for that reason, and also because I sleep on my side. I probably move my forehead in my sleep sometimes. So sometimes when I wake up, I do have like little creases, but when I do the tape, I don't have that. So I would imagine it does like inhibit a little bit of that movement and that squishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That too. And people don't realize that at night, so it's not just the facial expressions that we use when we talk, right? When we're angry or this or that. At night, a lot of people, majority of people do the involuntary facial expressions. Like, for example, my husband literally sleeps with the huge frown on his face, like a huge frown, And if you look at your partner, I guarantee you would see
He's
something.
Smiling always.
Yes.
I'm
that's
like,
amazing.
What are you so happy about?
That's amazing. That's typically what children do. Like you would look at the little kids.
He's like a big kid.
Kids are smiling. So that's, especially if we went through the stress, we had a stressful day and at night, that would transpire to our facial expressions. So, of course, also the tape will help prevent those creases at night. And some people like to do it during the day. So it can be done either way, whatever you prefer.
Yeah. Sometimes I notice if I'm working on my computer or even if I'm like blow drying my hair.
Oh, yes.
If I'm working on my computer, I'm like,
it's always the frown.
And always the frown. And then when I'm drying my hair, it's like my brows are raised. And I'm sure people are listening going, just move your face. Like, what's the big deal? But, I feel like, I don't know, those are other ways to incorporate
Absolutely.
The tapes where I catch myself and people are like, your face still doesn't move. First of all, it fully does, but I'm also not
totally does.
Super,
I can confront.
Yeah,
I can confirm that.
But I'm not like super expressive.
Over expressive.
Yes. And I catch myself making these faces and I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm trying to train myself out of that as well.
Yeah, but also look at if let's take like a leather shoe, right? And you're constantly bending that leather shoe, it creates those creases. So when people say, oh, well, just move your face. Yeah, that's great. But then you're going to create all of those extra creases unnecessarily, and you do the tape, you're going to help smooth it out. That's actually one of the things I do as a little trick sometimes when I go out or like some event or something. And that's exactly what you said. I'm curling my hair. and I'm like, I have to look up, and just everything, my whole forehead, my frown. I'm like, what's going on? So I put like very quickly, I put a piece of tape, and then I can calmly do my hair, my makeup, or whatever it needs to be done. And at the same time, I'm not creating extra of those creases, like I said on the shoe, right? That are just unnecessary. You can have the great facial expressions when you need to, right? When you are expressing something. And I can avoid it when you're doing your hair.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I'm just anticipating people listening going, just age gracefully. We're all going to age. We're all going to get lines, all of that. And it's like, you can't win, because when I was doing all the in-office treatments, then I was getting shit for that. And now if I show, I'm wearing if I'm wearing tape on my forehead or my eyes to sleep, then I get shit for that. And I would imagine that you get some pushback too. But I like that you made that point. It's like, yes, we can express ourselves. And there are things that I actually really love about not having Botox. I think, we have mirror neurons, and it's hard when you're talking to someone who's completely frozen to know how you feel. Or to know how they feel. And I've had so many people say to me, it's so nice to see you expressing yourself and being a little bit more animated. But it's like, yeah, but I also don't want to get static lines because I'm blow drying my hair every 2 days. It's like, there's a balance.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I say. It's like you can minimize those unnecessary, facial expressions or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. What are we doing for crow's feet? Because this is my problem area. So I'm selfishly asking.
The facial massage would be great. There are some techniques for the crow's feet that would be amazing.
Really?
And of course, the face taping would be amazing for the crow's feet as well. It's the facial massages. It's not just like our face doesn't like end at the start of the hairline and doesn't end right here either. It's the continuation. It's our entire body, and a lot of it has to do with the tension overall. So once we're able to relax as much as possible our entire body, and when you said that it's great to do a little self-care routines right in the evening, because this is the time to give you to come down and relax and do something for yourself, and your body will respond so much. It's going to appreciate every single second you spend doing it so much in the long run, because this is the time for your entire body to just decompress, take a breath, relax, readjust its functions in some way. And you're giving it a little attention. When the child is crying, this is all it needs, right? It needs somebody to come and give it like a little, rubbing, a little hug, or just a little attention. That's what the child needs. Just a tiny bit attention to say, you okay? Let me hug you. It's not a big deal. And immediately the child feels better. So in a way, it's the same thing with our body. Once we give it just a little bit attention, it will just keep on thanking us forever.
I love that. And I think so many of us outsource that to other people. And, we expect that from our partner or whatever. And that's how we need to feel that. And obviously you do need that in a relationship, but also we should be giving it to ourselves first and foremost.
First and foremost, absolutely. Yes, this is our time to do something for ourselves. So, and then again, saying like when people, like you said, coming after you or after me or after a bunch of other creators, okay, all I can say is like, you don't do that? Mm-hmm. Like, seriously? What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's like self-care at the end of the day, and everybody is entitled to do whatever they want. If you're doing Botox and fillers and lasers and all of that,
that's
do
also
it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's also for those people. This is giving attention to themselves that way, and it definitely, like, for some, it gives them such a great self-confidence that would be like a huge boost for everything. Huge. They're like everything, their perspective on themselves changes, and that's amazing. So as long as what I think is like, as long as they know what are the possibilities of what can happen. So if they're just given like 10 pages to sign something that they have no idea what they're signing, that's a little bit of a different story, but I hope they do know.
Yeah, I think patient education and transparency is really important, because when I talked about what happened with me, even some injectors were like, we didn't know that could even happen, you know?
That's what I'm saying. They don't know. They were sold something that they themselves were not educated properly on what it is and what it does and all of that. And all of us are still not fully educated. We're still finding out every day something new, right? Like every 6 months or a year, you can see some new studies that come out, like it does this or it does that. And, you know, it like the bone loss or the lymphatic drainage blockages or the whatever it is, right? The inflammation, this and that. So we're still finding out ourselves what it can possibly trigger.
Yeah, and just back to something that you said, like if doing these things, do whatever makes you feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I'm not anti, and like maybe there would be a day that I would try it. I don't know. Like I'm just not saying anything. Like I'm totally neutral on it. And I support all my friends go and get their Botox every 3 months. And I'm like, do you? Like that's amazing. That works absolutely. For you. But I've noticed for myself, I'm a lot more confident now than I was then, because what happened for me, at least, is I got into this cycle of going every 3 months for Botox. And as soon as it would start wearing off and I would see a little movement or I would see a little line next to my eye, I would be like, oh no, I need to go like get a little touch up. And I was just way more like aware of any kind of perceived flaws and way more nitpicky. Whereas now, like, I just don't really even give it a thought. Like I'm fine with how things are. And I like doing these other modalities, partially because it does feel like self-care and because I feel like I'm doing something good for my skin in the long run. But it's like an interesting thing that came out of that whole experience too, where in the beginning I was like, oh my God, like, don't take my Botox. What am I going to do? Like I'd never seen my face without it for 10 years. So I thought like, I don't know, the wheels were going to fall off. And it's kind of been like the opposite experience, which is kind of interesting. So if people are on the fence, like it's worth at least trying, see if you like the tape and, you know, if the massage feels good and you get some, maybe you can even get like longevity out of your injections if that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's what I say, like, it doesn't hurt. Like it doesn't hurt. And then again, a lot of people do not want to do like traditional, the popular, you know, injections route. Some people don't want to do it. Some people cannot maybe afford it, whether it's the financial aspect or the health aspect, whatever it is, right? So it's great to have like a little hope, a little something alternative, something that you can actually do and try. And I think that also with the whole social media on the rise and everything, I think like it's giving so much hope to so many people that yes, there are some other things I can do, you know, maybe I can try this, maybe I can try face taping or face massages or something else, you know. And I think that's a great thing that we are actually seeing all of those different possibilities right now. And incredible is that everyone can make their own choice.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. I mean, I think people don't even think about that. If you start doing it in your 20s or 30s, it's like, are you going to go do this every 3 months for the rest of your life?
How much is it going to be? How much was your Botox, if I can ask?
Oh my God. Each time, probably at least $1,000 each time.
And that would be like how many times a year?
Oh, like every 3 months?
Every 3 months. So that's about like roughly $4,000. Well, let's say like 3,000 per year.
Yeah.
Okay. In 10 years, that's 30,000 in 10 years. And if you, let's say, take the face taping, right? So my face tape is like $28.
And it lasts so long.
Right. And it's like 5 meters long. So if you just use it for, let's say, forehead and crow's feet, that would last you at least 3-4 months. So let's say it's $30 just for the easy math. 30 times for it's like 120 per year. 10 years, that's $1,200 versus $30,000. What? Wait, seriously? I just realized it.
Yeah, I've never done that long math either.
Oh my God,
that's crazy.
I can take a lot of vacations for $30,000 in 10 years.
I should just put 30,000 in an investment fund right now. My Botox money, just put it there.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people right now are like driving off the road.
But
what?
That's also if you don't hit the bump in the road, like let's say you did. Did you spend money to go to the doctors, see the doctors, figure out what's going on with you?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I had insurance, but I went to like 10 different doctors and had so much testing done, blood testing, MRIs.
I would assume that's also a lot of money. And not even like forget trauma. About the money. That's like the trauma, the health aspect, right? You know how they say that the steady wins the race, right? What is it? The turtle and the rabbit, right? So you want to say like, I would say like the turtle is the natural modalities, whatever the facial techniques, the face taping, that would be the turtle in 10 years. And like a rabbit, that would be, I guess, the popular route of injections, kind of like a Ferrari, right? It's fast. It gives you like fast and drastic results. But I mean, if you hit that Ferrari, that's going to be a lot of money to fix it.
I think more and more people are at least getting curious about what their other options are. And I think being more cognizant about what they are putting in their bodies. And I've said to all my friends who are like injectors or surgeons, dermatologists, I'm like, just please tell me the day that somebody has like something that works like Botox, but in a better way that's not injectable, you know, like, and I'm sure that there's going to be innovations that come.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to
try. I've been using the SkinCeuticals PTOX. It's like, I don't know, it's 10 different peptides or something. I got to say, it's kind of working well. But that's just a topical thing. It's not like injecting, you know, the toxin into your muscle. It doesn't stop your muscle from moving. But I feel like skincare is getting better. And that's a whole thing that I wanted to get into with you. So maybe we'll have to do a part 2. Because you have so many amazing products that you use, and everybody can go to your Instagram and see your routines and purchase everything there. So why don't you tell everybody how they can find you?
So it's either on my website. The website is called The Natural Faces. My Instagram, my TikTok is called Natural Face Bible. And you guys can find a lot of information there. And if you have questions, you can always DM me or email. That would be better, I guess. And hope you enjoy some of the tutorials.
And when you buy the tape, it comes with a QR code that you can scan.
Yes,
and you can get tutorials. So many people ask me, how do I apply the tape? I bought the tape. How do I apply it? And I'm like, scan the QR code. And because I'm still figuring it out myself.
Yeah, you have to give it a little try. Yeah, but I put together like a whole bunch of videos. My previous videos of the face taping, they're shown like a whole bunch of different applications, from forehead to the jaw application for the TMJ issues, if anyone has it, and so on. And definitely, yeah, you can start playing around with it. Make sure, of course, everyone needs to use the correct tape, because we don't want to be using the body tapes on our faces. Those tapes are definitely not designed to be used on the face. A lot stronger, you know, harsher adhesive, all of that. And that's, again, the thing that a lot of people are jumping on this face taping trend and started showing all of these videos, like putting whatever tapes they can find in the house. And then I get like flooded DMs. So like, the face taping is ruining my skin. I'm like, what are you using? And people are using not anything near the face tape that, you know, I would use on my face or recommend to anyone. So you have to be also careful with that, of course.
Yeah, it's very
choosing
gentle.
The best products for your skin. It's our everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was so fun.
Thank you so much.